Justice League Odyssey issue 4. Joshua Williamson writing, Phil Briones on the art. Um, people are worshipping Cyborg. They take him to
Why?
one of the machine worlds where there's a giant statue of him. And that's the gist of the book, as the rest of the characters just kind of react, and Azrael has a couple of quippy lines.
I'm realizing now I may have fallen asleep during this issue and not finished it. Which is not a great sign that I didn't even notice.
No, I am this. This book's a conundrum because it does stuff that I really like, and then it does stuff I just don't care about, and like.
Joe's
I have no idea.
Joe's funny about this is obviously the last issue was Briones as well, but I'm still missing Cedric. I'm still reading this going, oh man, this would be so much better.
There are, like, I'm trying to read this now, and I'm like, because from where I was, and I'm just on a panel that's kind of horrible. It's Cyborg saying others. It's about 10 pages in or so, and it's Jessica behind him. And I don't know what's going on with any of her face.
Jessica's face, I know what the panel you're looking at. Even Cyborg's face looks a bit weird in that panel, to be honest.
It does look a bit weird, but hers looks much worse.
No, Jessica's face was bugging me in this issue as well. I think hers, I think his Darkseid looks pretty good. If you go to the scene with Darkseid where he meets
Blackfire.
I've actually just got that. I really like the wide shots. That very first panel, the close up on his face, not so keen on.
That's all right, but yeah, I mean, hey ho. I think and I think it's because he's more like a monstrous presence as opposed to like an actual person. Yeah. So he gets away with doing, some other stuff.
I think Blackfire looks all right.
Yeah, Blackfire looks fine.
Yeah, but it upsets me that now I won't get to see Cedric's Blackfire in this book.
Yeah, that is really frustrating.
That's a crying shame. So basically, because there's been other pretenders that have claimed to be their cyborg god in the past, they force Cyborg to do gladiator combat with Azrael to prove that he's really a god.
Jeez.
So Cyborg, because they're basically pretending that Azrael say, okay, make this look good. And I did laugh out loud actually when he gets him. He's about to blast him with something else, and Azrael's like, "Wait a minute, no, that's not this good." Stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny, but the issue was okay. Like I didn't love it. I don't have a problem with the direction too much, but I do think it was elevated quite a bit by the Cedric art before.
I do, and I feel like that delay. I feel they changed the story a bit much.
And the fact that
now there's
the fact that Williamson's leaving after like one more issue or whatever it is, just kind of feels like okay, so what's the does it still have its direction? Does it still tie into things the way it was meant to? Instead of feeling like a book that I thought was going to be like one that I'd be excited about every month, it feels like just sort of a middle of the pack kind of.
It's like Odyssey. And I don't feel like there's much of an Odyssey vibe. Like you give it that name and you want like world hopping, and I just feel like these Lost World, they're so far the ones that we've seen are a little bit too similar.
Well, I mean, the Odyssey, it's one of the epic tales of all of fiction.
Right.
I'm not buying that here.
No. So and like the machine worlds and like them at the end, was he the programmer? He's like the leader of the machine worlds. And he's talking about how they've gone out and spread the message. And Cyborg's like, well, what's that message? Oh, that it's better to be a machine. So he's going to turn everybody into a cyborg.
And
that's a great hook.
And they're building a mother box as well. That's the other big thing they're doing.
I've just got to Jean Paul being a dick.
All right.
Raptor shows up, and he's like, oh, Machine's no god. You aren't a princess. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I've taken the name Rapture in your honor. I'm your loyal servant. And he's like, oh, my own worshipper? About time.
Yeah.
But this guy just told his friends that they were pretenders. But you're the real deal.
Yeah. Well, he has a bit of a narcissist. Like he did try to take over for Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's. I don't know. The point I was getting to right there before Connor wanted to talk about Jean Paul.
Sorry, I'm reading through it now.
No, it has a great hook, and I like that. But I feel there's way too much backstory that we're not going to get now because it's changing hands. Unless Abnett is going to work off of some notes or he has a better idea of where it's going, I kind of lost faith in it.
I genuinely wonder if it's going to clearly change into another book. Like,
mm-hmm.
maybe Abnett finishes off the plot that's been started, but I wonder if after a couple of his issues, if all of a sudden it becomes this completely different concept because it's what Abnett wants to do with it. Because now it's his
feel
book.
like right now I'll be surprised if this gets past 12 issues.
Yeah, me too.
No, I agree. I don't think this is long for this world.
And if it does, it's only because the Justice League name sells enough.
And what really gets me is this was the one I was highest on.
Yeah, me
it
too.
Was Williamson and Sejic, and it has some of my favorite characters.
But the delays hurt it. It hurt the sales. It hurt everything about it. It's just kind of a shame. And it's a sad thing that it was just like a hiccup that led to the delay, which meant Sejic couldn't stay on the book, and the whole thing's just it's just bad. It sucks.
Yeah.
Oh well. The book's not bad though. I mean, I enjoyed reading it well enough. It just isn't,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't notice that I didn't finish reading it.
Yeah, it feels inconsequential, sadly, but it's not a bad read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It lacks kind of what I was talking about Titans and Justice League Dark, where it feels like it's this weird book with a weird lineup, but if it's just niche enough that it feels like it's fun to read, and I feel it's missing that.
My girl Jess needs another book. She needs a flagship.
Again, Starfire and Cruz.
Also,
going around the galaxy.
By the way, see if this whole no other Green Lantern book while Morrison's doing Green Lantern stays true. He's talking about he's got plans for a second year of the book, so it might actually end up being like 2 years of Morrison's Green Lantern. And if that's true, I'm going to be pissed that we go that long without focusing on the others.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you give Bendis 2 Superman books and don't give one for me.
Matt, what are you giving Justice League Odyssey issue 4?
Yeah, it's a 7.5. Wasn't big on the story.
Carl, what are you giving it?
5.
I would give it a 6. I will go as harsh as a 5, but it's okay.
Is painfully
We
average.
literally talked about this. I grade higher, Connor grades lower, and Pete's the mid-ground.
The sensible
I grade
one.
Fairly.
No, I grade fairly. You grade too low.
Yes.
This was not an above average book. This was at best average.
Average is not as readable as this.
Mm-mm.
Of course it is.
No, it's not. Average is more of a chore to sit through. This was not a chore to sit through. It was fine.